Hey, it's Bill here. I want to talk to anybody that is trying or attempting to buy real estate in the St. George, Utah area, or for that matter, Mesquite. And this is for people that have decided they want to move. I'm going to give you some very, very good insight of what you really need to do because I just went through it. 2 weeks ago, I was down there making offers on property, and I want to share with you some things that if you'll just keep this in mind, it'll take away a ton of frustration. First thing is there's a buying frenzy in St. George that you don't understand unless you've come from a market of buying frenzies, and then you kind of get it. The frenzy is if it's a nice house and it gets listed, it gets offers right away. And if somebody is in the loop with a good agent, that offer will be a bit higher than their asking price. So here you are, you see a house listed, you won't have a chance to go through it. If you do go through it, it'll be too late. That house will be sold or the offer will be accepted. So you really got maybe, I don't think you have 24 hours. I missed one in Zions Park that was probably 100,000 under value, and somebody bid on it maybe 10 grand more than what it was worth. And I just wasn't prepared to make that kind of decision. So unless you just want an average house on an average lane, on a backyard that hasn't been kept up, just you can buy, and nobody's going to fight you for those homes. And there's certain neighborhoods, they're not going to fight you for certain neighborhoods in St. George, believe it or not. And I'm not going to get into them unless you send me a personal inquiry, and then I'll kind of tell you what I think. There are some really good agents that have an inside information of what houses are going to be listed. And so I don't know if I should tell you this because we'll be competing together, but I think I will. And I haven't figured out a way to make money on it, but it's not about the money sometimes. It's just about the frustration. I spent 4 days in the St. George area. Drove, made an offer, looked at the house. It wasn't what it was supposed to be. Had to retract my offer. It was just a wrong way to try to buy real estate. And you're going to get in that frenzy. Your agent's going to put you in that frenzy, and you're going to make an offer based on that frenzy if you don't do these 2 or 3 things. Let me start with item number 1. You need to pick an agent. You can't do this on your own. You cannot do this on your own without an inside agent. And an agent that really understands the area that you've narrowed down. You can't just look in St. George. You got to say, I want to go to this particular area or stay away from that area. I want a new build. Whatever it is, you need to grab an agent that you can trust and sign something. You got to get somebody that'll work for you on the front end, not just make an offer. If you're just going to go down, make an offer, go get just an attorney that'll handle the paperwork for you. It'd be a lot cheaper. But I think you need somebody down there that really understands the market if you want a nice house. Number 2, decide what you really want. And you can compromise on the number of rooms, whether it has a pool or not, but you better know what you want because the people that are bidding against you know what they want. Number 3, begin with the end in mind. Don't go to the bank and see if you can afford it. Get all your banking done. Get your letter done that states that you have the money, you have the cash, or you have the loan pre-approved. You won't be effective in a bid if we don't know, or if the owner doesn't know what you have available in terms of funds. So you want to have all that ready, and it doesn't do you any good. I mean, you can go do a dry run and see if you get lucky. The reason that St. George is so hot, and I'm just going to give it from my point of view, not a realtor. I have no dog in the fight. I have a lady I've worked with down there. I'd recommend. She'd work really hard for you, but even she's getting busy. So you really got to focus on this. St. George is growing very, very, very fast. It's a small community, used to be a small community here in Utah, where Utahns would go and retire. The elevation of Utah up here in Salt Lake, it's about 5,000 feet. When you get down to St. George, probably 2,500 feet or 3,000 feet. It's a huge drop. It's like a cliff when you get past Cedar City. So our weather up here is all the same. From Cedar City to Ogden, it's, we get a kind of the same winter. Then there's St. George, who gets another month on the end of summer and another month on the beginning of summer. It's Las Vegas-like in terms of winter and very hot during the summer. But what makes St. George nice is trees. It's at an elevation where you can get shade. When you get down to Las Vegas and Mesquite, that shade kind of goes away with that additional heat that they get. So you got everybody from California. You've got everybody from Utah now starting to retire, and other states that are starting to find this Utah very family-centric, very lower crime situation in St. George. That was the poll. Now it's getting crowded. There is no inner freeway system. They've got a lot of construction going on with houses. I would say there's 3,000 or 4,000 houses being built at any given time. I mean, there are neighborhoods going up like crazy. So you could buy a real crappy home. The Parade of Homes is coming up. I think you should be signed up for that if you haven't made a decision. That'll give you an indication of all the $1 million plus houses. That's what they build now for Parade of Homes. But give you a good indication of where you want to live and why you want to live there. My feeling on St. George, it's about the house, the location, the neighborhood. And I really want either a place I can put a pool in or a pool already there. The last thing I want to talk to you about is try to find an agent that has connections with a neighborhood that gets the inside information on what houses are available. Here's the deal. And I believe this from the auto industry because I'm from the auto industry. My daughter works in the auto industry. Listen to this. Don't turn me off yet. This is really important that you understand this principle. A good house has connections. So when somebody dies or they decide to move, they tell their neighbors. Their neighbors in a lot of these communities, especially the LDS community, are connected. They're connected in a ward. They're connected by other people that are in their block. That information goes out like that. If it's a really nice house, you don't stand a chance because that agent that listed is probably a local agent. And once that listing goes on, somebody in that neighborhood knows a friend that will buy it. My sister calls me all the time. She lives in a neighborhood, Sunbrook, or one of those neighborhoods down there. It's very nice on a golf course. She calls me all the time because this house, these people are thinking of moving. This person died. They're going to be listing. Always something. And if you're not in that link, and if you don't work hard to get in that link, then you're going to get an average house. You're going to get a good average house. It's the same in the auto industry. All the good cars, all the cream puffs, for example, come into a luxury car dealership, all the cream puffs get pre-sold to somebody's parent that works there, somebody that works there, or somebody that happened to drop by and left their information. They're looking at that kind of car. They get a call from the salesperson that this trade's coming in, we're taking the plates off, and they better either give them a Visa card over the phone or come down and make a bid on it. And you'll have 2 or 3 people bidding on a nice car. That's how I got all my cars. My daughter has called me on every one of them. Every one of them I've put a deposit on sight unseen. I'm waiting to do this in the real estate business, and I have once just a couple of weeks ago, and it just wasn't There was just some things with the house that I'm not dealing with that. So there you go. You need an agent. You need to lock in early. You need to do the parade of homes when it comes up, and it's usually early spring or late winter. And you need to get your finances in order so that when you do see something, you're locked and loaded. You can't come back in a week. You can't go think it over. You can't maybe check with your bank. All that's the old school. These are all buyers out there right now that are locked and loaded to make offers. And the people making or receiving the offers are making a decision based on how much money you have. If you have to get a loan, the stipulation of selling your house first, that doesn't even play. That won't even get you a serious return. And the fact that you know what you want. And a last tip, I'd write a letter with my offer saying why you want to move into that community. A lot of people in St. George are conscientious of who they sell a house to. The last thing they want to do is sell a house to a company that's going to rent it out or lease it out, or there's going to be transient renters, whatever the case may be. You have the right to do whatever. But if you can explain in a letter that you have family or kids, or you're here to die, or you're here to be a good neighbor, and I think that's going to help your offer. Now, these are all hardcore. I'm not dressed up. I didn't put on the suit and tie. I don't belong to a real estate agent. I want you to like and subscribe because I've got more information I want to share on the financial end. And just to give you a tidbit of why you should subscribe to a no-nonsense guy that doesn't have an agenda in his back pocket, is in the finance world, I've discovered in the last 2 years what I should have known all my life about investing. And I want to I just did some statistics, and yeah, I guess you could turn this off if you're done with the house thing. More information, get a hold of me at bill@satree.com, SATTREE.com. I'll respond and answer everyone. You can send a message in the YouTube video and ask a question. I'll answer that. But this will blow your mind, right? I'm going to do another video, but just hear me out because I can't believe this. Only about, I guess, if you're 60 and older, you probably have less than $300,000 in the bank. In fact, only about 60% of those 60-year-olds have $100,000 in the bank. You've got to be kidding me. You've worked all your life and you don't have any money to invest. And the sick part is it's in the bank earning nothing. Now, if you'd have bought $100,000 worth of Bitcoin 2 years ago, you'd be set. Like, you'd be beyond set. You'd be a millionaire. And I'm not really talking about that. There are other investments I've learned along the way that are making a lot more than what the bank's paying, 100 times more. You think the bank's safe, they are, they're insured, but when you start looking about what they're insured about and what you got to go through and how you got to put your money in a lot of accounts that are in different banks, there's some other things you could be doing smarter when it comes to investing. Now, if you're 20 years old or 30 years old, you still should listen to it. Subscribe. Listen to my Investment 101 for 60. I'm 60 now what? Because these poor people that are 60 have left their money in the bank. They've worked a job. When you start hitting 60, people don't see you as valuable in the workforce. You tend to, try to work toward that 66-year-old retirement. And there's some things you need to do in those 6 years, and I want to help you out. If you have a parent, a grandparent, make sure they subscribe to my channel. I'll start putting in more content. I'll answer questions. I'll connect you to people that can help. But if a 50-year-old listened to me, or when I started investing in the early 40s, you wouldn't have any problems right now. You would be out buying cash houses and doing whatever you want in life. If you don't make these choices, it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Behind me, I don't know if you can see it. I don't even think I've got it on. I'm watching the stock market and I'm watching news. I'm getting educated. And I want you to get educated along with me. Thank you. Thanks for subscribing.